Hello. So this video really is something I feel should be obvious, but it's something that I think needs to be reiterated so much. Um, you know, Sometimes when you scroll through cyberspace, when you scroll through the videos that are out there, um, and this isn't an ego thing, it's not about like my ratings or anything like that, but there is so much trash. And what I mean by trash is so many videos that are divisive, that are just trying to stir up animosity between different people. I'm not being politically correct here. Obviously, taboo issues should be discussed, but there's so many videos that are trying to stir up animosity towards entire demographics, and it's garbage. It just creates so much hatred and misunderstanding in the world, and it depresses me and frustrates me. So I want to make this video as a tiny counterbalance to this. And it is something that is obvious, which is that people, all of us, are individuals. We're all individuals. It doesn't matter if you are male or female, if you're black, white, Asian, Hispanic, if you're atheist, agnostic, Muslim, Christian, Jewish, Buddhist, Sikh, Hindu. It doesn't matter if you are gay or straight. None of these things should absolutely define you as a person. It can add others to that, young, old, fat, thin, whatever. These things should not absolutely define someone as a person. And I think the fundamental problem I have with identity politics, and particularly the traction that it is taking in Western countries, is that it is about taking a certain demographic and using that to define your entire being. And you see this in many different movements. You see it across the board in movements that, in my opinion, are far more divisive than they are constructive. Now, I'm not so naive to think that the world is a perfect place. There is injustice out there, obviously, and it is absolutely understandable that if people feel strongly about an issue, they're going to protest about it, they're going to complain about it, and so forth. But I honestly think if Martin Luther King were alive today, he would be unhappy about the way that identity politics is being used to divide people, particularly in areas where we start saying these people are privileged, those people are not, these people are bad, those people are good, etc., etc. It's just really, in my opinion, a very polarizing thing. And I'm not quoting Martin Luther King. I'm not bringing up Martin Luther King lightly. If you look at the statements he made, they're contrary to the sort of movements that we are seeing today. Martin Luther King was clearly advocating for white people and black people to work together. He wasn't trying to stir up animosity towards white people, um, but nor was he being a so-called Uncle Tom and turning a blind eye to injustices against black people. Um, and that's why he's such a respected figure, because he wasn't a polarizing figure in the sense that he did try to unify people. Um, it can be depressing looking online, seeing just the. I get so frustrated seeing the sheer amount of videos that are out there and the alarming number of people that support them that are intended just to stir up hatred against a particular group. But like I say, I'm not being PC. Clearly, we all have inherent. I think we all have inherent sort of there's people we like and dislike. But what we should do is put on blinders to things that are beyond someone's control. So you can't dislike someone because they are white, or because they're black, or because they're Muslim or Christian in of itself. Now, religion's a little bit different because there is some more choice aspect to that. Although people who have been Muslims, ex-Muslims, would discuss the harassment they faced. But With religion, there's a bit more flexibility, but particularly with race and gender, there is no choice over that. Um, you can't change what pigmentation you have. Um, Gender, well, we know that there can be transgender surgeries and so on. I'm of the opinion that you're born either male or female, but I don't hate transgender people, and I don't go around pontificating and say you can't do this. I think it would be wrong for me to do that. But the problem with identity politics and the problem with what so-called social justice warriors, the approach they take, is they demand tolerance, but they're the ones actually going around demanding everyone else see things the way that they do. That's not tolerance, and it isn't progressive. You cannot, for example, force people to feel a different way on issues like bigotry. You can enact legislation to stop discrimination taking place, but you cannot fundamentally force someone to change their mind about something. So if someone has got hostile views towards all black people or all white people, that's unfortunate, and they should be challenged on their bigotry. But it's difficult to legislate something like that unless they're actually committing a hate crime, unless they're a business and they're discriminating against people. It's difficult to criminalize thoughts, but what those thoughts should be is challenged. Um, One example of this, one manifestation of it, is the sheer amount of bigotry that is out there against mixed race couples. I would suggest just as much prejudice as um, any other group that finds itself the target of negative prejudice. I mean, if you look at, for example, the whole white man, Asian woman thing, I've covered this before, so don't want to go into huge detail with this particular video, but there is unfortunately a very negative thing out there that it is, oh, well, the white men are perverts, they have an Asian fetish, and the Asian women who are in those relationships are submissive. So it's assaulting both people. It's accusing the men of being perverts, and it's accusing the women of being submissive little sex dolls. And the problem is, in every stereotype, there might be some truth. So yeah, you might find examples of men who are exploitative or whatever. But what really galls me about that is you can find plenty of examples within white relations and Asian relations. So the sort of people who attack this, from my experience, tend to be either white nationalists or Asian nationalists. People that cannot stomach the idea that they're seeing something they just don't like. And what really bugs me about this is it doesn't hurt them. So, as far as I'm concerned, they should mind their own damn business. I've been in mixed relations. I've had I've had Asian girlfriends, and I will absolutely crush anyone who says, metaphorically speaking, who tries to portray me as some sort of pervert with a fetish. Um, that's really it just really pisses me off because I've also dated white women. So it's just the notion that it's set up in that way is just it's disgusting, and it's um that sort of generalization and attack on people. It does nothing, and I think it's people who have had a bad experience and they're bitter about it, so they want to take out their rage on all white men, and it's disgusting. I've actually made a point in my own life. Any so called friend that attacks me for something that is beyond my control, i.e., the fact that I'm a man or the fact that I'm a white, I'll discard them like a wet rag. I don't need those sort of people in my life. Because if someone is giving you a hard time for something that's beyond your control, they're not a friend. I came across a post yesterday where this girl got a job that she'd really strived for, and she was very happy about it. And everyone else was congratulating her, but this one so-called friend said, "Oh, well done. You might want to add your white privilege to that." So the girl made a very stark sort of feedback saying, "Well, thank you for that congratulations. I will remember that when I recall the foster homes that I went through, the fact one of my parents was an alcoholic, the fact I was brought up in poverty, etc., etc." So she was really slamming down this so-called friend's rebuke of her success. Instead of being a friend and just congratulating her, the friend chose to attack her on a demographic that's beyond her control and didn't look at that as her being an individual. That's why I feel so strongly against the concept of white privilege, because it is an attack on all white people. Same with so called male privilege. If you're of the school of thought and you go around and say, oh, but it's a real thing, take some responsibility. What you're doing is attacking all white people, even if you claim that's not your intention. By saying white privilege, by saying male privilege, you are generalizing. And that's the bottom line. That's why it really works me up. So basically, it is so important that we look at people as individuals. Yes, of course, you can get maybe particular trends in a particular group. Um, Human beings are diverse, and there might be particular trends in a particular group, but that it's never ever universal. Never. Um, you can think of a particular stereotype, and there might be some truth in it. You might be able to point to examples as well, but this is, something I've seen a lot. Okay, but it's still not the whole picture. It will never be the whole picture. Um, and I don't want to sound like I'm patronizing anyone or lecturing here. To me, it's just common sense. I think that we all take a like or dislike to people, but what we should never do is base it on something that is beyond their control. So if you dislike someone, that's fine, because they may be a jerk or a bitch or whatever, but base it on that as an individual. Don't think it's because they are black. One thing that I've never understood is attacking racism with further racism. I see statements like this white trash racist guy. Well, wait a second, you're using racist ethnicity to attack them, so you're being racist as well. Or like Asian people are the most racist in the world. White people are this. So you're attacking racism by further racism. It's just generalizations are racist by nature. Saying that an entire group is one and the same is a racist position. And sometimes it drives me nuts seeing the sort of exchanges, the sort of garbage that people come out with online. And like I say, most of the time they're behind a computer screen. But this does happen in the real world as well. And we've been seeing it in the United States and to some extent in the UK recently with these very increasingly angry rallies by both the right and the left, people yelling in each other's faces. It's sad. There's no dialogue. All people want to do is yell at each other. So everybody, in my opinion, has a responsibility to see others as individuals. Perhaps we will never get away from fundamental racist or sexist mindsets, and that's a great pity. But as individuals, we do have a responsibility. If you're a decent person, if you're an open minded person, you have a responsibility to at least try. So if you've had a particularly bad experience with white people, I'm sorry for that, but it doesn't give you an excuse to hate all white people. Likewise, if you've had a bad experience with certain black people, you can't hate all black people or Asian people or any other group. If you found some gay men to be a certain way, you can't hate all gay men as a result, or straight people, or whatever it might be. To me, this is just common sense. And yet, so many people, it seems to go over their head because they're so obsessed by tribalism, by attacking another group. And as soon as we get away from that, then we really liberate ourselves from this nonsense. And this is not about political correctness. I'm not saying that we have to be ultra sensitive. It's not even about that. Where there are problems in society that need to be discussed, of course they should be discussed, but people should just be careful not to generalize. That's all. So I'll leave it there. But yeah, this is why generalizing concepts really get to me, because I think that they stir up animosity, they stir up mistrust, and they just. Incidentally, I'm going to say this right now. Anybody using male privilege or white privilege on my channel as a derogatory term, as opposed to just discussing it, i.e., if they want to attack me, I'll ban them from the channel. Simple as that. Because it's a term I think it's disgusting. It's a way of attacking someone for something that's beyond their control. Okay, that's it, people. Thank you for watching. Let me know your thoughts.